In this video, I am going to solve this problem where I am given a triangle ABC and I need to show that sine square of angle A minus sine square of B plus sine square of C is equal to 2 sine of A times cosine of B times sine of C. We are going to start off with the left hand side and then we are going to do some manipulation with the left hand side using trig properties, and then we are going to come up with the right hand side. So that's the strategy going forward. So I can write the above as follows: 1/2 times 2 sine square of A plus 2 sine square of C minus sine square of B. So basically I have factored out a half and multiplied this sine square A by 2 sine square C by 2. Now you probably do remember the formula from your previous knowledge of trig identities. So cosine of 2 theta is equal to cosine square of theta minus sine square of theta. Okay, and from that one we can do the following: cosine of 2 theta is equal to cosine square of theta. I can write it as 1 minus sine square of theta minus sine square of theta. Then cosine of 2 theta is equal to 1 minus 2 sine square of theta. So then I can write this as 2 sine square of theta is equal to 1 minus cosine of 2 theta. And I am going to use this relationship to simplify this and this. So this is what we get here. So using this we get this using this formula. Now 1 plus 1 is 2, then minus cosine of 2a minus cosine of 2c, then sine square b is there with negative. And then I just distribute the 1/2, and if I do that I get 1 minus 1/2 times cosine of 2a plus cosine of 2c. Now we are going to use another trig property which is going to help us simplify this thing. That property is this: cosine of c plus cosine of d is equal to 2 cosine of c plus d over 2 times cosine of c minus d over 2. We are going to use that to simplify this. So if we simplify it, this is what we get. Now once I get this, I can just simplify it. So look what I'm going to get here, which is going to be this. These 2 and 2 cancel out. That's going to give me minus cosine of, I could factor out a 2 here, 2a plus 2c divided by 2 is going to be just a plus c. Okay. Then let me just leave this parenthesis square bracket here for clarity, and similarly I am going to get cosine of a minus c minus sine square of b. Now look, a plus c is pi minus b. Remember, if you add up the angles in a triangle you get pi, right? So a plus c must be equal to pi minus b. Now pi minus b is in the second quadrant, so in the second quadrant the cosine is negative, so it's going to be, if I can simplify it, it's going to be 1 minus, but there is going to be a minus coming in from here, so that's going to make it plus, right? Cosine of b times cosine of a minus c, right? Minus sine square b is going to be, by the way, 1 minus cosine square of b, but if I distribute this negative, it's going to give me negative 1 plus cosine square of b. Now look, this negative 1 and this positive 1, they cancel out. Then between this term and this term I could factor out a cosine b. If I factor out the cosine b, I am left with cosine of a minus c plus cosine of b. Now once again we are going to use the same thing, cosine of b. Now let me put it inside the square bracket for clarity. Cosine of a minus c plus cosine of b I could write cosine of b as cosine of pi minus a plus c. Remember? Exactly the same logic. So that's going to be giving me minus cosine of a plus c, because it's going to be in theory in the second quadrant, right? So I'm, instead of cosine of b, I'm going to write minus cosine of a plus c. So this is going to be technically a minus. So minus cosine of a plus c. Now I can simplify these two. To simplify this, we are going to again use another trig identity or trig property. Remember, cosine of a plus or minus b formula. That's the formula that we are going to use. Now, if we use that formula, we get the following. Now, let me break it down for you, what I mean here. Cosine of a minus c is going to give you cosine of a times cosine of c plus sine of a times sine of c. Then don't forget this negative, we have to distribute it. So if we distribute it, cosine of a plus c is going to be negative cosine of a times cosine of c. Then it was supposed to be a minus, then minus and minus is going to make it plus, right? So it's going to be sine of a times sine of c. Now there is some cancellation going on. So this one and this one, they are going to cancel out, because cosine of a, positive cosine of a times cosine of c, negative cosine of a times cosine of c, they are going to cancel out. Now look, this is sine of a times sine of c, and this is sine of a times sine of c. That means there are two of them here. So it's going to be 2 sine of a times sine of c. So I'm going to have cosine of b times 2 sine of a times sine of c. Now if I simplify it, I'm going to have 2 times sine of a times cosine of b times sine of c. By the way, this is exactly the right hand side of the equation. So we started off with the left hand side and we ended with the right hand side. Now let me summarize what I have done. So I took the left hand side of the equation, and which is this, and then I combined the terms and used this cosine 2 theta property to simplify it, and then along the road I have used this property of trig, and then what we have done is basically we simplified it, and finally we came up with the right hand side, which is, by the way, 2 sine of a, cosine of b, and sine of c. I hope that this discussion was helpful. Thank you very much.